Salvete. My name is Anna, and I teach Latin and Greek online. And today I'm here to talk about those common mistakes that people do in their GCSE exams, and as a result, they lose marks that they didn't need to lose. Now, you are quite stressed at the moment of the exam. So, what we're going to do now is do a bit of a prep exercise. You're going to imagine you have finished writing your exam and you have some extra time. Hopefully, that is what is going to happen. And you have some time to go over what you've written. And I'm going to give you 5 tips of things that you can look for to see if you are losing any marks. The first thing would be go to question 10 and 11 and check, have you done both questions? If you have not done both questions, that's the grammar and the translation into Latin, make sure you do both, because despite what it says on the paper, you will be allocated the marks of the one where your score is the highest. So make sure you fill in both questions, because you never know, you might have some question with some problem with your translation, or maybe you get some the opposite. You get the opposite and you've gotten some words in the English to Latin that you're not sure about. So it's good to have 2 places where you can do well. Okay, so first one, look, questions 10, 11, have they been both written in? Great, let's move on. Second point, have you crossed out, and this is unlikely to happen, but some people have this problem, have you crossed out your rough translation? Make sure your rough translation looks like it's the draft and that you have crossed it out. Otherwise, it might get marked and it might not get seen the other one, and then you need to get a remark and it can get a bit messy. So make sure you cross it out so that it's clear which is your need translation. Okay, let us move on to the next point, and it is related. Have you given more than one answer, more than one translation in any of your questions? This happens quite often, and more often than not, one of the 2 is wrong. So make sure you only give one answer. Don't put any slashes there or brackets and saying it could also be this other thing. Just say what you think it is, the strongest answer that you have. Let's move to number 4. There is a question where they ask you for a phrase. Okay, they ask you for a phrase. If they ask you for a phrase, don't write the whole sentence, or don't just pick up a word unless they're asking you to pick up a word. If they say a phrase, it's going to be a combination of a few words that exactly answer the question. Now, question 5, and in the stress of the exam, this can happen quite easily. The derivatives, the words in English that come from Latin. They will give you some Latin words, and you need to give an English word that comes from it. Please do not write a translation in the first space, because you're in the exam mentality and you're thinking, I must give a translation to everything. No, this is a derivative. Please just give a derivative and then explain the meaning. I know that you know, and you know that you know as well, but in the exam with the stress, this can happen. Now, before I move to the next 5, I'm going to check the comments. There are no comments there, so I will continue. The 5 points that I'm going to talk about now, they need a bit more time, but they are an important part of your checking of the exam and of your thinking throughout, okay? So a piece of advice, and this is number 6, is to make sure you have looked up words in the glossary. And this is for 2 reasons. First is that if they are glossed, probably you don't know what they mean. And second, it may be that the word is glossed because it means something else to what you should expect it to mean. So please always check the underlined words in the glossary. Number 7, and I'm sure you were waiting for this one to come, is little words, like mostly adverbs, but also conjunctions. Do not forget them. If there's an ita in this way, there is a reason it is there. It's easy to lose marks like that. So make sure all the words in your translation are accounted for. Some people who have quite a bit of extra time at the end Write little dots under each of the words in the Latin text to make sure that they have accounted for all of them. I'm not sure everyone has time or that works for everyone, but this is an option that it's out there. Then the next one is, if you have made a note of irregular, no, sorry, they're not irregular, you don't know yet. You've made a note of words that you haven't recognized. Go back to them and ask yourself, are these irregular forms of nouns or verbs that I am already familiar with? Yeah, like for example, with a noun, it could be that it's a third declension noun and you were thinking about the nominatives, going through all the nominatives. I have some advice about this elsewhere, by the way, about the third declension nouns, but we're not going to go there. Let's stick with, for example, adjectives. Yeah, think about it. Think about the forms that don't appear straight in the vocabulary list. This is one of the reasons where I would say be wary of revising too much with Quizlet, because you tend to see just certain parts, but not all the parts of the words. Then, moving on, a very similar point, number 9, easily confused words. If you spot them, you will probably see a tamen and a tandem there. Check it again at the end of the exam. Go check it again. And did you put the right one there? That is very useful. And then finally, for number 10, and I think that is quite important, and probably you will be doing this as you go along, but I think it's important that you do it as well at the end if you have time. Check the marks that are given for the question with the answer that you are giving. So if the question says 3 marks and your answer is 1 word, ask yourself, are they looking for me to make 3 points? Are they looking for me to make to answer with a sentence that contains at least the translation of 3 words? Yep. Think about it. If it's only 1 marker and it's 1 word answer, it should be fine. But if they're giving you 4 marks there and you're giving only 1 word or 2, there might be something. Obviously, all exams are different, but just think about it. Give it some thought. So I am now going to give you a little summary of everything I have mentioned here. So these are 10 strategies that you can use to make sure you maximize your marks in the GCSE language paper for Latin. So number 1, making sure you've written your answer for both question 10 and question 11. Number 2, cross out your rough translation. Number 3, cross out any alternative answers, particularly if they are wrong. Number 4, look at the phrase question. Have you given a phrase there? Number 5, the derivatives. Have you given a derivatives or have you just translated the words? Number 6, the glossary. Have you read the glossary and made sure that you are using their translation? Number 7, little words. Don't leave them out. They are there for a reason. This is particularly important if you're doing Greek and you're used to lots of des here and there that sometimes you leave out. This does not happen in Latin. You translate everything that you find. Number 8, irregular adjectives, irregular adverbs. Make sure that words that seem obscure are not just actually a different principal part of the verb, like abstulerunt comes from aufero. Yeah, you know abstulerunt, but you're thinking about the present tense of the verbs. Number 9, easily confused words. You will spot them because you can see them coming. So make sure to go back to them and check them. And then number 10, check the number of allocated marks against your answers. Okay, there isn't a straight rule for this, but there are suspicious circumstances that you should think about. I hope this was helpful. Oh, I have somebody saying hello. That's great. Hello, Joseph. I guess some people could not come live. I must admit, I put this live at 11 a.m. partly because I wasn't sure the setup would work because I haven't been live for so long. Now I know that it works, yeah, probably I will go back live at different times. So feel free to ask your questions below. I will also put some notes there of some resources. So feel free to ask the questions that you have. Also feel free to request any videos that you think would be helpful. I'll take the suggestions and see if I can fit them in. And finally, just a little disclaimer. I am giving you all this information as a teacher, an experienced teacher, and a user of the exams, but this has nothing to do with the examining board. Obviously, for specific information about how the exams are marked, you need to go to the OCR or the EDUQAS website. You also have the examiner reports there. Sometimes they can feel a bit difficult to get through, but your teacher will help you look at them if you have questions about those in particular. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to say walete and hopefully see you all around. In proximum.